There we go. Awesome. Okay, and I think yes, you put them in the chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us again. We really appreciate it. And for being so flexible also. I appreciate that. Last week just got a little complicated for me, but we're doing this now. Did you get a chance to review the questions? Are you okay with them?
Yes, we did.
Yes. Okay, great. Wonderful. So I think I'm just kind of gonna go through the questions, just one by one type of thing. If you want to expand on anything, right? This is a conversation more than anything. It's like we did last time. So I'm like, perfect. But I think maybe if you want to introduce yourself first, just for the purpose of the recording, and go ahead.
All right, yeah, I'm Derek Days, the father of um, Eric Days, Denzel Days Jr., who passed away. And
I'm Shakita Days. I am the mother of Derek Denzel Days II, and we are also the CEOs of Derek Denzel Days II Corporation. We manage the nonprofit.
Thank you so much. And just so you know, also the questions are going to be in the chat. So if you want to follow along.
Okay.
So can you describe the events leading up to the incident in 2008 to your best recollection?
Okay, from my point of view, I can say it was December 13, 2008. That day I had to go into work for the midnight shift. I am a 911 police dispatcher full time. I've been a 911 police dispatcher for 21 years now. And he had just came home from prison because he got arrested on a gun charge for having my gun in his possession. So from my point of view, um, I'm at home. My mom comes knocking on the door, and my brother comes knocking on the door, and they tell me that it's been an accident. So in my mind, I'm thinking it's a car accident. I had no idea that my son had been shot, but they didn't tell me anything until I arrived to the hospital. Once I arrived to the hospital, I saw the media out there. I saw my coworkers standing outside. So that's when I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what. So when I walked in the hospital, that's when they told me that my son had been shot and that he had a 1% chance, which 1% didn't even click to me at that moment. I just thought that he had a chance of survival. But as I go back now and now I'm in my right mind, I'm like 1% chance, that was no chance of him surviving. So I see him, he's covered in blood, he doesn't have any shoes on. And then finally, I just when they tell me my son was shot, I just pass out.
Mhm.
And then from Derek's point of view, he can tell you the events that led up to the shooting.
Okay, and from my point of view, I went just was like I said, was just coming home. I was just home for like 2 months, and went to go meet up one of my brothers from out from the neighborhood, and we was supposed to go get him and then go get the DJ. One of my partners named Bear, he was gonna DJ for. They was throwing actually a party for me, so I took my child up to 57 and 22nd, a neighborhood that I'm familiar with. I grew up, raised up with, but what was going on at the time, I wasn't familiar with the young guys that was in the area, committing, probably running habit, doing whatever they was doing, but it got mixed up with the people who I was dealing with at the time. So went there, went to KFC, got some potato wedges. Remember feeding my son some potato wedges. Remember my brother actually holding him. And then when I did get him back, a couple of guys, well, actually one guy walked up the sidewalk with like a movie broad daylight and just went to shooting. So as I grab my son, I jump over the wall. He hysterical. I actually see the gunman actually pointing at my brother at the time and empty out the clip. So, but there was blood all over me too. So I'm thinking I'm hit, but I ain't thinking my son was hit because he was still crying. So when after the gun, fight actually with the click click click, so it was no more bullet in the chamber, then the dude ran off. put my child in the back seat, check myself, and then I see my son, just like how the movies when the see a doctor, the blood be spreading, and then I just lost it from that point. The police ambulance came so fast, jumped in the ambulance, they put me in the car, we rode to the hospital,
Hmm.
and just remember calling I don't know how my brother-in-law actually got the information, but I think I called them. Yeah,
Mhm.
I was hysterical, but at the same time, yeah, I called them and let them know. I let them know, oh yeah, tell Keita, something happened to Derry, he got shot. I don't know if I told him that, but I just told him to tell him where I was at. They came to the hospital, and from that point, went in the room and seen him. They said it would, try to save him, but they couldn't. So from that point, then how did it impact me personally, mentally, physically, impacted me as in like how you think about life, you know what I mean? And did make you, don't want to deal with a lot of people, put you in a bubble, you know what I mean? It make you what they call it, post
PTSD.
post-traumatic stress disorder, deal with that. You know what I mean? Sometimes don't want to be around people and make you secluded because can't trust nobody sometimes, so it impacted me and then it impacted my wife's health. So
For me, I would say the impact that it had on me, on my health wise, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at a very young age. I was only 23 years old. When after we had learned my son passed and going through the grieving and everything, one day I just woke up and I couldn't walk, I couldn't move. I couldn't move at all. So they just had to put me in the car, took me to the emergency room, and they ran all these tests and everything. And they're like, we don't know what's wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Your vitals are good. You're going to have to go see a specialist. So that's when I went to see a rheumatologist, and they said, you have rheumatoid arthritis. The reason why I came on so young is because you went through this traumatic thing in your life that brought it on. So I dealt with that. I dealt with depression, taking all these pain pills because I was constantly in pain, not just from the rheumatoid arthritis, but also from the depression, like just sitting on my shoulder, like it just wouldn't release. And as far as the impact that it had on me financially,
Oh, I'm sorry,
um,
Shakira. I'm sorry for interrupting you. I just know that you talked about when we met back in May, you talked about how you got pregnant, and I just wanted to see if you could expand a little bit on that and like because you got pregnant right
yes.
away and kind of like the repercussions of that and having to
Yes.
deal with all
So mentally, it had an impact on me because like he said, I couldn't trust anybody, like being around anybody, and I couldn't trust anybody being around my kids. As far as for my healing purposes, I wanted to have a kid immediately, which it did happen. That's when we had our son, Nehemiah, Danzel Days, which we gave him the middle name Danzel. And that kind of helped us cope with it, but we were still dealing with all those emotions, which carried on to him because now he's dealing with those same emotions, but in a different way. So that did help us heal, but it did put a new light on our lives because now it's like I'm very overprotective of my kids. I don't want them to go with anyone alone. I want to be with my kids so I can watch them, make sure they're safe. I'm constantly worried. Like if the phone rings, I'm always thinking something's happening, something's going on. Because when I got that phone call, I just keep thinking of that phone call. So every time I get a call, I'm like, everything okay? So that's the kind of mental and emotions that I've been going through since this happened. Financially, the impact that it had was that we had to move to another neighborhood, that we couldn't afford because we wanted better for our kids. So we wanted to be in an area that wasn't too bad, that we can raise our kids and they didn't have to see the things that we seen. So basically, that's my answer to the first question.
in a second, because that's how did it impact. That's one, and I mean that's one of the questions
Yes.
in the question. Then you did the financial, then how
Yep.
did it impact
Yep. Y'all
engagement?
kind of went rolling there. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
answer. Yeah, I mean, you really answered all those. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing, because I know that that's very difficult. Like it, even for us listening, like our hearts are with you absolutely, because it just sounds like a moment that completely changed your life, right? So
Continuously, right?
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And you will live with it for the rest of your life, right? So, and just to clarify, you were 23, Shaketa, when your son passed?
Yes, I was 23, and then I was 24 when I was diagnosed with the rheumatoid arthritis, officially diagnosed.
Okay. Did you have
So,
any complications during your pregnancy?
surprisingly, I did not.
Okay.
I did not have any complications.
Okay, that's great. No, that's
Talking
wonderful.
about with Nehemiah?
Only with Nehemiah was he has like a dose of
No, I'm
uh
saying, but did you have complications with him
no, I
after
didn't.
the fact?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So also back in May, we remember y'all stating that, the incidents of gun violence are not isolated, and that it's followed you from 16 to adult years. And I know that also goes for you, Derek, like following you throughout your life. Can you
Mhm.
elaborate a little bit more on that point?
And it's proximity. It's an environment. I mean, key point. Probably was actually watching the movie Trading Places, and the rich billionaires were doing the experiment on the value of humans. So but it's the environment. So it's like that's like my kids they don't see what I seen when I was growing up. Not at all. Like we was actually seeing people with guns, people robbing, snatching pocketbooks, people breaking in stores. If it was riots, people throwing rocks at the buses, and it was just wild in my neighborhood growing up. I mean, most of the people was in poverty growing up in the projects. You know what I mean? But they actually changing the terrain mostly in the same area, but they actually making it, look more presentable. But like I said, like in my time, every neighborhood we growed up in was kind of rough. So our upbringing was rough. So that's the key of how it follows you from 16 on to the age that you get, that you feel like, hey man, it's not the neighborhood I want to raise my kids in. I don't want to be ducking, going to the store, a corner store, just to go get some eggs and get cracked in the head. You know what I'm saying? Just or getting robbed and things. But it's the nature of the beast. It's the neighborhood. We call it ghetto. It's not a community. It's a neighborhood. So basically everybody who actually worked in that neighborhood don't live there. They live somewhere else. They just come, exploit our make money off of us and then go back. Don't put that money, don't go back into the neighborhood. That's what we're saying. And for the recycling of the community to be able to actually have a new basketball court somewhere where all us can go and do something, instead of being on a corner. But that's how it was. YMCA's, when they took those away from us, that was a good outlet because they had even like the guys that was inside the projects was able to governized the guys that was, even was bad or didn't have their parents, whatever. They created basketball teams, football teams. So we was able to learn discipline, then instead of running around in the streets. So it was always programs around when we was coming up to keep most of the people, out, at harm's way if they could. And even when they had the vans or the buses used to come pick us up in the group, it take us to the park, take us places as groups, but then those budgets, just when that stuff stop happening, then a lot of stuff start happening in our neighborhood. So
Yeah.
it's just the terrain of the structure, the infrastructure, or we live and born and raised. Because when I was living in Augusta, Georgia, I was born and raised. I got a chance to experience living in Augusta, Georgia, and Aiken, South Carolina, and that was one of the phenomenal, it was phenomenal. It was like looking at TV. Living Christmas was snowing, and
Really the
when
environment.
you had to class, yeah, it was beautiful. You know what I mean? So it's like even like I seen that difference, like I had a taste of it because my dad used to work for a power plant. He was he was a plumber at the time, but it was beautiful to travel and be in the woods and look at nature. It was different than gun violence. You know what I'm saying? So I got a chance to see the difference and seeing that what the environment would have done for us. Like it had me more adventurous when I was
Right.
living up the road because of you just going through the woods and traveling. It was more like while you're in a neighborhood that's constructed how it's constructed, you still being adventurous, but now you're doing stuff that they already constructed you to do, as in TV and music. You know, they already programmed you to be a certain way. So you follow this, peer pressure or follow the
Right.
hype or what everybody else doing. So that will continuously have you going in the pattern of following and think you got to be hard against or you got to
Yeah.
be rough and tough because you're growing up in an environment where everybody got to fight all the time. You
Well,
go
and
in
I
there,
like the point that you made about poverty, right? And that's definitely what we've been kind of leading towards as well, right? Poverty is
Mhm.
really at
Right.
It's
I
a
can
key.
say,
It's a real key too. That's a real
uh,
key.
I wanted to also kind of find out how did the incident impact your work, especially you should kind of, I mean, you work law enforcement, right? How did that impact you having been,
yes, I was
like,
gonna say, I wanted to,
Like,
collaborate on this, being, at the age of 16.
Mhm.
I came from a good neighborhood. And because my mom ended up being a single parent, I ended up in a bad neighborhood. So in that bad neighborhood was the same neighborhood where I lost my son, that I moved out of because I didn't want my kids to experience that, but still ended up losing a kid in the same area. At 16, I also witnessed a murder that I was on trial for. And that murder followed me until my adult years. I was working as a 911 police dispatcher, and I had to testify on this same murder at 23 years old as well. So working law enforcement and then also meeting him, there was people talking because they're like, oh, he come from a criminal back path, he has a criminal past and you're a police dispatcher. How does that work? I said, well, when I meet people, I'm not, running their record. But as I found out what he had, I was like, okay, he don't have any robbing in his past. He don't have any stealing. He just had a couple of, drug charges. I said, I see he was trying to make money, and it was like maybe back in 1999, 98. So, and I had met him 2006, like 2006, 2007. So there was a gap. So I said, I see that he's trying to change his life. So I don't want to be the person to judge anyone because I had family members that also has criminal past in my family. So it's hard to get away from that. So I'm a person that I believe in second chances, because before I started my job, I probably would have given him a chance anyway. So that's how we ended up together. And basically, him being in a relationship with me is what helped him go down the right path. That's what made him change his life, because of being in a relationship with me. So I believe in rehabilitation, and it just takes that figure. They need that influence for them to go the right way. And that's what happened with our relationship.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Shakira. And thank you so much because I mean you're both just really heightening such important factors that we're seeing, right? Highlighting poverty, environment, right? Having you kind of have to be going from this like good neighborhood to like a neighborhood that's like not so good because of economic circumstances.
Right.
Um, I'm wondering, and we're really wondering, because a lot of what we've heard from the community roundtables that we've done is that, okay, these incidents will happen and then you don't hear anything. You don't get a
Right.
report, you don't hear anything. So wanting to learn and hear more from your perspective, like, did you receive any support? If so, what support did you receive? Who did you receive it from? And then what resources do you think are missing? And that can be a second letter question.
I mean, at first when it was out, because everybody, when there's a big story, you have all these politicians and these influencers, they come out and they want to be in the media. So they use your story for them to get the publicity. We had Al Sharpton, all of those people out there, rallying for us, and they promised us all these things, and then when the hype went down, those things weren't given to us. We were like left hanging. So that's what made us start this organization for ourselves, because we didn't want our son's death to be in vain. We didn't want him to just be another statistic. So all these people that promised us all these things, when the story got, low and low in the media, everybody's gone. There's nobody there to help you. So the only help that we got was going to church, going to our cousin.
No, from your job.
Oh, from my job first,
Your
yeah.
job
From my
basically.
job first, yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
through it all.
Right,
Like
through it all, yeah, from the
from the
beginning.
beginning to now. Like the
Right.
support from that, from my job, that support never stopped. But from just family and friends, like majority of like, well, they ain't bring you a bag of rice. You know what I mean?
Right.
Talk about it, say something about it, but they don't even know what you're really going through to like your whole life is done changed completely. Like it's 360. You are not the same person and never will be because of that situation. And then they you know, and I don't want you to feel sorry for me, respect what I went through. And you know what I mean? And
Right.
honor that situation where we can go forward. Don't make it seem like I'm just like I can care the same way I can, but it's just like it's hard because what we've been through. But yeah,
Yeah, I
we got
forgot about
support, but we got support from family and friends, but like from outside of that little organization. But for me, I was talked about. I needed to go through therapy, or I needed you know what I mean. But
Yes.
nobody never reached out. The what you call it? The state attorney office post. I think they were saying something about it at the time, but I never received nothing. So
Yeah, we spent like so much, this trial was so long. So we was going through the trial for years, and it's like we could never really grieve, because every time it's being brought up, you're still grieving over and over. And then your family, everybody there, you're going through the situation, but everybody's acting like they're going through the situation when it's your situation, when it's our child that we lost. And my job did a tremendous job supporting us, getting together the money, the FOP of the city of Miami
thank
Springs.
you, Miami Springs.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to bury my son, because I didn't know anything about life insurance. And that was my journey to becoming a life insurance agent. So on top of that, I'm also a life insurance agent because of my own personal story. And so
So I just wanted to clarify really quick. So you were going through trial for
yeah,
the loss of your child.
Yeah, but it didn't take. It took like after the fact, it took years for it to happen. Like it
yes.
didn't happen like months.
Right
It
away.
took like 3-4 years after my child died, and then it surfaced back. And then I had went through anxiety, went to court, when I had to go to the hospital. A lot of brung a whole like that's it. It really had me. And then the trial itself was stressful.
Yeah, I think they were convicted 2014.
Well,
Yeah, it was 2014 when they were finally convicted.
were you ever assigned caseworker, a counselor, therapist? I mean, they're making you go through this process.
No. I do have that program, the assistance on my job available to me if I wanted to go through counseling, but I never did it. I just never went through counseling.
And for example, at the hospital, right? You just went through this really traumatic incident. You have to deal with a lot of stuff that you didn't even know that you had to deal with. Was there anybody who approached you and said, hey, these are some of the services you can reach, or we're going to assign this person to you to help you out?
They did have a caseworker assigned to us at the hospital, but I can't remember if they had gave us any like outside services. I can't even remember, because that's like a blur to me.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
the
and
only thing I can remember is just going to church. Church helped me get through it. And family and friends, my job, I had took like a month off. They gave me so much time off. They said take as much time as you need to. But it was hard for me to take that time because I couldn't sit in the house. Because it's like I was drowning in the sorrow, and we ended up moving out of that apartment because we just couldn't stay there anymore. Oh, we just couldn't stay in the apartment anymore. So I was like, once we move and then just seeing all the flowers everywhere, that's why now I hate flowers. I don't like flowers because it was too many flowers. Too many flowers. So I ended up going back to work before I should have because I just needed to stay busy. So that's why I created this organization, because I just need to stay busy so I don't think about it. And that was at that time. Like before I couldn't talk about it, but today I can talk about it. So
And I mean, the caseworker might as well not have been assigned to you if you don't remember and if they weren't able to.
No, because it wasn't like, like authoritarian, like somebody who like, oh man, we need to help y'all. We'll be calling your phone, y'all all right? We need y'all to come down here. You know what I mean? It wasn't none of that. It was like, if it was mentioned, it was probably like a blur. It wasn't nothing like concrete. Like we actually sat down in the office and talked to somebody, and they said, "Okay, we're gonna be doing this with y'all, and we need y'all to come in, get some counseling, and da da da." We never had a
yeah, I
conversation with.
remember like
We never had a conversation like that.
any gun violence groups reaching out to us, nothing.
Wow.
So when we finally started our organization, that's when we started connecting with other gun violence organizations just by running into each other in the community and, telling them about our organization and them telling us about their story, because not knowing that we had been victims first because we weren't on social media at that time. So we just probably got on social media like in 2014, after the trial, 2015. So we wasn't really into the social media stuff. We were just grieving. And then once we were done grieving, that's when we started acting, advocating.
What are some of the resources and services that you think would have been helpful?
Oh yeah, of course. Support for anybody who went through that situation. Any kind of programs would have been available for us at the time, offered to us at the time. Because I mean, basically, they gonna say that there's this, but the people who were working around us, our minds wasn't focused on. You know what I mean? Like we actually was. You got the support from the village. Most of the time that can work, but you need the outlet. Like you go to the church and you get people who care, you know what I mean, and they offer you food or services to come in and pray over your house and do all this kind of stuff. Then, but other than that, it wasn't
I mean, for me, I would say like the support
no
groups,
programs.
the support groups for gun violence, like people that.
This after the fact. We're talking about when it happened. We didn't have no support.
No, I know that, but she's
This
saying what you think that they could do better.
Was that what y'all saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
What you was
Right.
asking? Hold on, ask it again.
Yeah.
What resources / support would you have needed, right?
That's what I'm saying. I said what we would have needed,
Right.
not
That's
what they have. What we at that
I know
time.
that's what
What
we
you
And I
wish
said,
you had.
yeah, at that time we would have needed
Right,
that
that's what I
support of
was saying.
somebody who would have, like that's what I was saying, period. That we would have needed the people to come in that actually represent those fashions, those acts, and and give us that support. But at that time, nobody came
Right.
until like months until we created a system. Then we started bumping into people. But from that point, and nobody, we needed those kind of we needed the help of if we didn't feel like cooking, home Tracy made sure, stuff like that. Like if we needed to go shopping for us clothes or funeral arrangements and things, like little program that can help people support them in when it's time to bury somebody, you know what I mean? So like we couldn't, but we had a like we said, we had a that organization and the police department was
Yeah,
very,
they came in and
they was
brought us
very
food,
intelligent.
probably for that whole month. Like I had my lieutenants, my captains coming out there checking on me. They ordered like loads of food. Like I didn't have to cook probably for like a month. I didn't have to cook. So that was
And then
convenient to
even
me.
then when we
Yeah.
had the baby, we had Nehemiah, they same thing. It was right there
Yes.
for us. So those programs like continue support, helping people when they need it.
And for me, I said I wish I had a group that I could have sat down and spoke with, of people that had lost kids to gun violence, just to see how they were coping with their situation. Because it's like when you have somebody that you can relate to your situation, they can understand what you're going through. A lot of people that's haven't experienced this don't understand what you're feeling at that moment. But that person that has been through it understand it. So if we get in these groups of people, that probably would have helped us better and probably help family and friends around us understand better what we're going through instead of attacking them. Yeah.
then how to support us.
And how to support us.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Right.
Mhm.
That's, yeah, they exist, right? But the problem
They
is,
That's what I said.
exist. They exist, but it was
I told you the
but
program
you're not
exists,
reaching
but
that.
people
So there's
that
a
was
problem.
surrounding us didn't, they didn't say, okay,
Yeah.
here you go.
Right.
Da, da, da. There was always like probably was around some political situation at the time, and everybody was in it for, they
Everything was political.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the problem, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
some of what we're finding also is that there's a lot of these services and really amazing people that do want to help, right? But it's not reaching the people that it needs to reach. So how can we
Right.
bridge that gap, right? What else do you want people to know about your story, right? You've been really intentional in not letting your story, simmer, or just being very vocal about it, bringing this organization to life. What else do you want people to know?
Right.
For me, I just want them to know our story. Our son was 10 months old when he got shot and killed. He didn't get a chance to go to school, go to college, graduate, any of that. We wrote a book called Young and Murdered, Derry Denzel Days II story. And we're currently working on a film production for that book. And right now we're accepting donations to help get this film started. Just to get our story out there and to show people how we were able to cope with our loss. Because in the book, it tells how we were coping with our loss. It tells our story about us meeting each other and what we've been through before we met each other and how we was able to cope with this new trauma in our life, losing our 10-month-old son. That couldn't walk, and he never walked, never talked. But how does a person that's a baby is born and doesn't get to experience life and is killed for no reason?
No, he was just starting to walk.
For no reason, yeah.
He was standing and just
Right.
starting to stumble a little bit.
I just can't get that thought out of my head. Like, I just don't understand it. So
I just want people to know that it can happen to anybody. Like
Mhm.
tragedy, it don't have to be in the poverty. It can be anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So, but just to support each other is what we need. That mechanism, no matter what goes on. People like when Hurricane Andrew come, like you know what I mean? You got FEMA, like
Mhm.
you know that exists, and you know they coming. You know what I mean? Just like that. That's that much strength should be the same way for people when they go through what they go through. Supposed to be organizations stepping out, Red Cross, however, you know what I mean? And just that powerful. And we're supposed to be actually creating those value systems so we be able to help support the people that really need it.
And I think that people should think before they act. Like, we have a think before you act campaign. We have campaign signs that people can place these campaign signs in their car windows for road rage incidents, in their yard, in public places like stores. People come in, they might rob the store. But maybe if they saw this sign that says think before you act with a gun, they might think about it before they do it. Because a lot of people, they react on emotions. So they don't think before they do it. They just think about how they're feeling at that moment. And
That's
at that moment, whatever happens, you can't change what happens next. So
I think that it really flows really well with the next question, which is what should we do as a community to address this crisis?
Like keep creating programs that work, keep tweaking, keep voicing our opinions. And I mean, when we, at these rallies, at certain situations, we gotta dedicate certain months to these situations. Once we keep correlating with it, like this gonna be the year instead of doing a week or a day, this the year of no gun violence. And then how that works. Because people always talking about, oh, this month, this is the no gun violent week, or this no the day, this 24 hours. No, this year. Let the whole year be representing no gun violence. Then we can work on the next year. We can, well, the numbers don't went down this year, guys, because we got to get together and create these opportunities. And then to the point where the funds are there. So then once we actually create the situations where people can actually experience something more than what they're experiencing, that give people hope that man, we can make it. We can live. We can enjoy life. We can go to the beach one day. We can go to an amusement park instead of just sitting on the corner. Nobody got no money to take the world to the movies. Because back in the day, we had it where the drive-in theater. So even when people didn't have money, they had a way to still look. You know what I'm saying? So giving people opportunity to taste of the good life, and then they'll probably strive more forward. But if you just let them, like it's on that side, just let them see it, and they just sitting over there. Nobody create opportunities for us to merge this lifestyle together. It's like, man, we just need to actually, like we say, keep speaking, keep coming up with different opportunities to help people, keep coming up with these different programs so we can actually governize the system in a way where we can actually benefit from it for us as a community and actually create a community outside of our own community. That's what really gonna make it work. The things y'all doing now with the women's group, this can go worldwide, nationwide. Y'all can have groups to go to Tampa, Georgia. I hit all the Florida coast, then from Florida to go across the, the county, and then keep hitting. And then once it come a community, that's when this thing gonna be touched hard. That's when it's
Right.
gonna that's when we really be able to work like the military.
Like a gun violence summit that you could take on the road. And then also we have to fix the financial issue, the economic issue in urban communities. And because of the poverty, there's a lot of violence because people can't afford things. So that's where the robbing come in, that's where the stealing come in, the killing come in. And then also the parents being single parents, not home with their kids because they got to go out and work. They got to work now like 24 hours just to be able to afford rent. So that's a problem because the parents can't be home to look after their kids. So the kids are raising themselves.
And this
So if they're
and
not
this
being
and listen,
raised,
and this
yeah.
this ain't just started.
This been long time.
It's been
yes.
going on from decades to
Yeah.
years to our generations and
Yes.
generations beyond. And it's just to the point where when that happened, when the working force changed, where our dollars didn't, the man dollar couldn't cover the whole system, and then the woman had to step out with him. You know what I mean? To actually work the force with him, where she can actually get taxed also because it was also about taxing. And they were just taxing the man. The woman couldn't work. So now that the women can work, we tax both of them. There's more money now. But at the same time, with like I say, with both of them working, even though hours is not compatible, you know what I mean? They're gonna be missing each other. You go to work at night, you go to work at day, the kids gonna be missing somebody, you know what I'm saying? So then you gotta order a nanny, so it's for that, but it's only for the wealthy to be able to enjoy all the anatomies that go along with it. You know what I mean? If I can take vacations for a month and get paid. You know what I mean? So how it's set up is it's for us just to work hard and die. You know what I mean? We it ain't really set up for us to enjoy this life. It's set up for us to be used and drained and still get what we still gotta follow the law and respect everybody, but we don't get nothing in return as a community.
And that's why these kids, they go out because they're seeking love and comfort in other places. Because the guys who killed my son, they were teenagers. So they were teenagers. They seek things from these different groups that they're not receiving at home. So they feel like that's the brotherhood, that's the love that they're getting.
And then the look, the one of the scariest parts of this situation is that I ate Thanksgiving with the same child who killed my son when he was little and didn't even must know it. He was probably like 8, 9 years old. My Uncle Johnny, God bless, he's passed. It was his friend, and they brung around. So it was like it's ironic how life just turned around because by proximity, the same child that I actually ate, seen him eating at the little kiddie table with, same child that killed my son. So it's like it's this issue of virus, it's the proximity, it's like what people promoting. So we gotta promote more greatness and more
true.
scientists, you know, the more discoverers, you know what I mean? Because the way this go, we just want to be rappers and entertainers
They
that
have to make it
and
affordable.
basketball,
Yeah.
football players and things of that nation. That's
Everybody can't be that. So it's like
we got to
they
support some lawyers and
right.
doctors and judges, things,
Average
you know,
things.
it's stuff outside that haven't been created yet. Like it's other
Mhm.
genres that can be created, and especially being the venture. This is going to be the space age. You know, we got Tesla, we got all kind of stuff going on. So tech right now, we need to go ahead and support creators community and start being more creative. Cause where are the you know the inventors? We used to always speak about, you know, no matter what genre, what you know, what race you come from, we don't speak about inventions. So who are inventing to make it easy for us to relax and chill, not to be lazy, but how we inventing, you know, remember the old lawnmower? You had to push it for the blade, but now you got gas, you know what I mean? So it's like what when we innovate, we got to innovate what we're doing now to make it more greater so we could be able to enjoy, we here to enjoy this life. We need a utopia. We know that it's heart, shame, and pain and hurt and grief that's on this planet, but it's love and it's other stuff that's here that you know that people want to be here. So we got to create that community of love and greatness and power so we can support one another.
And going
And
back to, having opportunities.
That's what we need. Create those communities that create opportunities.
Because there's a lot of single parents. And single parents, these boys, they need fathers. So if they don't have a father in the house, they just go astray because a mother cannot give their son what the father can.
And then from that
So
point, we have to cut the single parents can't be like out of woodlock. You got to be married.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you got to go out of the way so you can cut because we can't be keep blaming. Okay, single parent. You know this dude. He wasn't really in it for that. He didn't wear protection. It happened. He ain't really, you know what I'm saying? So we can't continue this process. And
cycle,
so we
yeah.
got to have everybody got to come together. People got to know you can't be having kids out of woodlock if you know the person you with. Because I have kids, I got a son and a daughter,
Right.
so I'm not trying to train them to just be out here jumping in people's skins and ain't trying to be responsible for what you're doing. So the responsibility they have built the system for us to follow, and we can't follow that system, then you're gonna get the single mothers and the single fathers, and then if the parents ain't raised that child up as they have a family business or raise the child up to actually be financially stable so they be able to sustain their lifestyle, then I mean people gonna be trying to be take other people who work hard and try to take what they got just to sustain your lifestyle. And it's we giving people the wrong perception about how we supposed to live this life.
And that's where the financial literacy comes in because a lot of people have it already laid out for them. They have
And then but most of them still mess up.
yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like some of the rich
Yeah.
people, they still because they got it.
They
It's
got
so
it.
accessible. So it's like,
Yeah.
hey, I can spend this,
With
go
no
back to mommy,
responsibility.
and mommy
Yeah.
gonna keep giving it to me. And I wrecked a new car. She brought me another one. It's like, you know, so it's a
It
balance.
gotta be a balance.
It's a balance.
It gotta be a balance. But that's why for our situation, I gave my husband permission to be home with my kids because I do shift work. So I'd rather for there to be a parent in the home.
You didn't give me no.
No, I'm just saying I didn't give you permission, but I'm just saying. I mean,
we worked it out
together
because it's better for her to financially because of her position than for me to actually try to galvanize a position.
I tried to say that.
Can I speak, Mom? I can't like you do that. Like I'm really trying to get it out.
Okay.
It's real technical. I like it, but what I'm saying is that we agreed on that because the Ford is because we did have two cars. The other car got dismissed. So that really put us in a shambles where I had to actually be here. Because I had the other car, man, I still be maneuvering with my baby with me and trying to get some dollars and keep on even working or whatever. I could actually take mom, hey, mom, watch the baby right quick while I go to work. You understand? Other than that, because her mom left.
Yeah.
And when her mom left, then that jacked us up because she used to watch the kid and I was actually working. Well, both of us were working. But
and childcare is very
expensive.
I said childcare is very expensive.
Man, they've been going up, boy. And with almost what $500, $600 a week, sometime every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
4,000-5,000 a month. Like, come on, bro. Like, what is you not even much doing nothing? They coming home sick. You know what I'm saying? Like all the time. They always sick. Always sick.
The problem with daycare is that all of the money that one person makes is gonna go to daycare. So that's not even gonna hit your household. It's just gonna hit the daycare. And your bills are still gonna linger because all that money is going into daycare, aftercare.
Yeah, and
And it's just
they
not
and
enough.
yeah, daycare not benefiting
It's
your
not benefiting
household.
your household.
Like the
Yeah,
daycare only, it's like an illusion
yeah.
because you paying some extra that the spouse that actually was there. You first you took mommy out the house, and then now you put a this situation that the substituted, but now it's costing more.
Yes.
It ain't
So
making it.
mommy or daddy's money is going to daycare or
Yeah,
aftercare.
it ain't
And then
going towards that baby tuition, a credit card that baby can have growing up. Like it's nothing supporting that our system. It's just something to take away.
so even though he worked, like that money didn't put a dent in this household because it was going to daycare, aftercare. It didn't put a dent in no bills in this household.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. Like even with the two parents working, because of the resources that are not provided, you still paying to something you can't afford.
Mhm.
And all you
And you're
doing
waiting
now,
on
it's
your
not
rent, you
even a
still can't
debt.
afford it.
It's you breaking
You're
even.
breaking even, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not you
yeah,
like
absolutely.
even if you got a couple of dollars to go to a movies, you probably might nah. You know,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
like, hold on, I might need this for gas next week, or
yeah.
I might because it ain't like you like I got 6 months worth of rent saved up. You like
Mhm.
this 6 months worth of rent saved up. I got me a savings account where I can actually get some money from. My savings actually the interest off it doing this thing where I don't have to really touch the money. Like once we set it up where we can actually governize life how it really supposed to be, people really be in it. We can enjoy this community, man. We
Yeah.
can actually do it, but it's education. That's the key
I'm
to.
I'm curious to know, because there was such a lack of resources provided to you and service provided to you. What do you think are some of the best ways to do outreach, like either to the communities or to victims and especially families of the victims that have gone through something similar? What is the best way to reach them?
Keep in touch. Like, we create systems or create tributes to them. You know what I mean? Like the proximity. You got numbers of people who done got, lost their life or unalive, the new word they're using.
I don't know. Mhm.
So the proximity, like, okay, we got these people, could y'all come together this day? Y'all create something for them, to honor their kids, to make them feel special, to make them feel wanted. Create a um a garden. That'd be nice. Create a garden in their name where they can plant a tree in the name of their son or their daughter. You know what I mean? Something like that would keep them. You know what I mean? Like a park. We can a nice little space out there and create a park out there, a revolution, memorialize they look. You know what I mean? Where they can
Yeah.
actually go visit. Yeah, that'd be nice.
So I'm talking though, that would be very nice.
Mhm.
I'm talking specifically though about, these services like the support group, right? That nobody
Maybe
reached out to.
like a pamphlet or something with all these groups. I don't know
Like
that they could
how,
reach out.
yes, kind of, but like
Yeah.
how would you have liked to be reached? Like, do you think somebody coming to your door like would have having caseworker have helped, right? What are some of the
I
best
would
ways?
say even like it could have been a phone call, but if the phone call didn't work, maybe an email.
Okay, this is what it
Um,
should be because
maybe
the news, the first people who get it, right?
yes.
So we need probably independent journalists that follow the story that actually give it, because somebody has to connect from the eye view to the person who actually went through what they went through to the services. So it's got to be because like everybody not gonna know when everybody dies. So
Right.
it's not gonna be like the service gonna be available. It's like the government, you know what I mean?
Right,
Like
but
a
you went to the
credit card.
hospital, so people knew,
Mhm. So
right?
at the hospital, that's where it's supposed to be provided at.
Right.
Right there, what you said at anytime at the hospital, they not supposed to allow no human being to walk out the hospital that lost a life, parent, child, when they're unalive, they supposed to provide those services right there at the hospital. Key.
So that was because the media is the one that gets that out. So that's how everybody knew about it because it was on the news. Now we had the news people knocking on our door every station, every
Want to
day,
do interviews.
want to do interviews all week. But maybe that same like energy of these other support groups coming out there knocking on the door and having that
It's
same
like I said, some,
action.
like independent journalists, you
Right.
know what I mean? But once they hear the story, like they might be always sitting around the hospital all the time. You know what I mean? Ear hustling, find out what's going on, what kind of families. I mean, could you get his card to the family of da da da? I just heard someone just passed. So it's almost gonna be just like policing that, you know what I mean? Like when the dispatcher got you boy some. So I'm saying, so it's got to be somebody always in the know what's going on in communities and stuff. And then once you get that system, well, soon as a crime happens, it's like an Amber Alert. Everybody get in their phone. So once you get it, then that means you can act on it. Okay, Amber Alerts, you just lost a child, but anyone who loses a child, you can connect these numbers and call these people, these sources.
That's a good
Always
idea.
keep it, yeah, just like that, because it's
Yeah.
always the best awareness.
Right.
Always keep it just like a billboard. Every time you go on the
So it's like a
highway,
hotline.
yeah, you're always on. I mean, but it's always like a flash. Like
Right.
anytime somebody passes, we own it. You know what I mean? But that's the only way
Right.
we can go be able to get it
So-
out, spread it, worldwide.
So I got it. So like a abuse line, but a gun violence line, hotline.
But they have that. What I'm saying is
They
just like
have
an
that?
Amber Alert. You see how when some as soon as a child missing, boy, they spread the word.
Like
So
a text that goes
you know what I
out.
mean? Yeah.
Okay.
So just like when
Okay.
somebody unalived in your area, a text go out.
Yes.
Da 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 just died. And if anybody know this person can support them in any way, please call this number. Then people, oh, I know them. Oh, I'm finna go get them some food. And now you cranked it up. So we have to have it just like the Amber Alert. It got to be just as that. As soon as we get it all the time. As soon as a little baby missing, somebody's stolen, they call the police department, and then everybody get an alert. So it got to, we ain't alerting the people like that. Nobody ain't gonna be really, you know what I mean? We gotta really make it, because people be getting unalived on TV. The police unaliving people, so they making it seem like it's so like, oh, he just died.
It's a
Okay.
normal thing.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
make it so normal. So we have to unnormalize this, just like the Amber Alerts. When you hear that, everybody's still alarmed. Even though, you know what I mean, it's common that everybody, they get alarmed. Who that? Make sure that ain't my baby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That's I like that point, like not normalizing. I like that you use that
Yeah.
word.
Mhm.
That's really what we're trying to do with your story, just so you know. Because part of our idea for this introduction is to kind of highlight how often you have these articles, right? These news reports, and yet these are real people. This is not normal. These are people who are suffering, who need services and who need help. So I really want to thank you for helping us heighten that, right? And not make it normal.
Yes.
Mimi, do you have any questions? She probably had follow-up questions, I thought.
Thank you both so much for sharing all this with us. I just have some clarifying questions. So just to clarify, you said that Shakita, you were on trial for the murder that you witnessed at 16,
Yes.
and then years later, after your son passed away, then you were on trial again.
Yes. So
Okay.
that was the trauma of witnessing a murder, being on trial for that murder, and then losing a child, and then being on trial for that murder. But I wasn't in the trial, but just being present and watching him on stand for the child because he was there.
Okay. Yeah. And was the shooting that you witnessed at 16, was that in the same neighborhood?
Same
That-
neighborhood. Yes. That's why when
How ironic. I mean, it's in the proximity.
yeah,
Not the
in
same, you know what I mean? But like
not
probably
too
like
far away.
10 blocks up over, like say this 50th Street and it happened on 40th Street. So it's probably like 10
It was
blocks.
51st Street and 24th Avenue was
So,
where the
51st. So
yeah.
that'll be 7 blocks.
7
away.
blocks away. So
Yep.
that's where I witnessed that. So that's why when that happened to me and that happened to my friend family, I got away from that. And I couldn't believe that I still ended up falling victim to it. Even moving away from that neighborhood.
Really, but you,
But,
you met me,
but I
so it's
met
like
him,
it's not,
so,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? But it's not. It's my program, being around people like that. So
Just being around the wrong people, wrong place, wrong time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Trusting
where,
people.
what area exactly? Like what neighborhood? Like what?
Brown Sub,
Liberty City. They
they call it Brown Sub.
Brownsville.
Brownsville, Brown Sub. That's I mean,
Right.
I'm from the sub.
Browns.
They call it Brown Sub, but it's Brownsville.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brownsville, Liberty City. Yeah.
Okay. And sorry, one more clarifying question. Something that we're exploring in the report is the impact that experiencing gun violence has on like pregnancy. And I know that you mentioned how the emotions that you felt during your pregnancy impacted your son. Would you be able to elaborate a little bit more on how it impacted your son?
I can tell him.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, because his emotions, because she was so emotional during her pregnancy after, because we had him right after the fact. So she was always crying,
Like the
always.
grieving process.
No,
Like the
before the delivery, just
During the pregnancy.
conceiving the
Yes.
baby. Once the baby.
oh no. Did we lose him?
They're frozen for me as well.
No.
Yeah, but she.
Oh,
Hello?
we lost y'all. Okay,
Yeah,
there.
yeah. We say we lost
y'all.
our
Good, okay.
See,
There
I
you
was
go.
frozen, like your favorite, like we was playing freeze tag for a minute. Well,
Yeah.
like I say, from my point of view, she'll tell you how she felt. But what I recognize is, she was always emotional because she was always feeling sad for what we just lost. But then now she is carrying while she's feeling sad. So those emotions are actually being embedded into our baby, and we can tell when he's coming out. You know what I'm saying? He emotional. You know what I mean? He playful and things of that, but he was, he always going to a state of breaking down and, going all too much for nothing. You know what I mean? But he was very emotional.
Yes.
How your pregnancy was.
Right. So I could say the same thing because I was very emotional, always crying, always in pain because I was going through the depression and having a rheumatoid arthritis and being sick, just couldn't eat, couldn't hold anything down. So it affected his nutrition, everything, because as a whole. So it was not like a healthy pregnancy where I could enjoy it, like most moms would sit there and enjoy their pregnancy and enjoy the food and everything. It was not joyful because I was not feeling well. I was emotional and I was always worried about when he comes to this world. So it was a world of emotions.
Yeah.
And that's what he experiences now
Mm.
even as a teenager now. He goes through emotions because any little thing can set him off. Any little thing can set him off. And he likes to be alone. So he likes to be alone. Like he likes to be in groups, but when he likes to be alone, he likes to be alone. So I can see some type of disconnect there because of the situation.
Did you suffer from any postpartum depression?
Yes, I did. Yes.
It,
Mhm.
yeah.
And sorry, just so I can understand the timeline, how old were you at this point when you were pregnant with your second son?
With my second son, I was 24. Yeah, I was 24. Because it was right after. It was literally like right after.
Okay.
And we had him, my son died December 13, 2008. My son now was born November 12, 2009.
Wow.
And then my daughter came 2011. And then they kept coming. So
It just kept coming.
they just kept coming. Yeah.
How many kids do you have?
So we have 3 girls and 1 boy.
Okay.
That's great. Do you have any other questions? I love that. Big family.
I don't think I have any more questions right now. Yeah.
Thanks, baby. I just realized we're like 5 minutes over and I want to make sure that we, respect your time. So thank you so much. This has been incredible. we're really hoping to have a couple, maybe like a draft of the introduction that we can maybe, send to you so you can read and get a first look at it and see kind of what we're going and where we're headed and the story that we're trying to tell, and so that we're telling it right, right? So
Okay.
to make sure that you are okay with it.
Mhm.
We have a lot going on, so I'm thinking maybe like mid-September we can send something over to y'all.
Mhm.
Okay. that's fine.
Just so you know that that's something that we want you to take a look at and be okay with, and then kind of give us the thumbs up, or like say, you're more than welcome to say, hey, I don't really like how this sounds. Can you say this instead? This is your story, it's not ours, and we're here to tell it however you want us to tell it.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
And it would be great if you have any pictures that you can send us.
Yeah.
Okay.
On-
Yes, we have like a big board with
Like a lot.
with all the
collage.
pictures. It's like a collage that they made for us.
Oh,
Okay,
And,
amazing. And
And we
I
got
also,
a portrait. We
Yeah.
just got a portrait of him.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think I've seen that a painting.
yeah, so we have that and we have that. It says our little hero on it.
Yeah, we got. a
So we
couple.
can also send that as well. I guess we can take a shot of it and
that'd be
and
perfect.
send it
I
over.
probably got that already. I get to send it to. It's in the gallery somewhere.
Okay.
I know I got
Okay.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Thank you again so much.
Thank
If
you.
you have any questions, also, if you need anything from us, you know how to reach us at this point, so.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity of,
Of course.